We live in a world that pulls us in many directions. Sometimes it can be difficult to know where to turn, what next path to take, or what new goal to pursue. Sometimes we get into a spin because we don't know how to navigate all the options or even to know what the faithful options even are. In seasons like this, we can feel divided. I just entered my 7th decade of life. Over the years, I've been at the end of several paths. Sometimes I was really glad to be at the end of a particular path. Other times, the end felt excruciating because I had lost what I thought was hope, or at least a sense of hope. It appeared there was no horizon for me to navigate or even to identify. And to be honest, I felt lost and somewhat lonely. And while this was hard, what was most difficult was how divided I felt. But when I entered into an appropriate time of solitude, I was able to see that there was an old self that really needed to go, a version of myself that was saying, "You don't need me anymore, Laura. It's time to become new, different, or a better version of yourself." As I consider the horizon of my senior years, I'm banking on something I've learned as a friend, a wife, a mom, but also a colleague, an educator, and leadership coach. And what I learned is this. I'm convinced that feeling divided is not the same as actually being divided. Over the years, I've noticed that people who are feeling divided often feel this way because they're actually asking beautiful questions. Those who are truly divided are this way because they've stopped asking beautiful questions. Their curiosity has waned. They've stopped being honest with themselves and others. Over the years, I've struggled with the temptation to live a divided life. But what I needed when this temptation came was to enter into a kind of solitude that invited beautiful questions asked by wise mentors. The solitude was a deliberate space that helped steer me away from the path of dividedness and instead step onto a path of growth and development. I've learned a lot about growth and development in my role as a gardener. Tending to plants forces me into a vulnerable position because I don't really know what the outcome of planting a seed will bring. Will there be a hailstorm that destroys my vision, or will a harvest come from my months of hard work? If it is a hailstorm, must I lose all my hope, or is there something to gain from that experience? And if I end up with a great harvest, can I be both proud of my work and remain humble? These are beautiful questions that haunt me as a gardener. When we are at the end of a road without a view in sight and we need help to identify the horizon, it's often helpful to learn from the artists, poets, musicians, dancers, and gardeners. Poet David Wyatt suggests that an ending is also an invitation to ask about our relationship to the unknown. Questions like these: what is the story you can't yet tell? Are you afraid of the future? Are you willing to find a question you don't want to answer, a question that you're deadly afraid of? Wyatt suggests that just asking a question can be enough. The asking of a beautiful question shapes your identity just as much as receiving an answer. And when you do receive an answer, it can often lead to yet another question. As poet E.E. Cummings says, always a beautiful answer who asks a more beautiful question. If you listen to the poets, the musicians, the artists, the dancers, and the gardeners, you'll find that they have learned to be open to the questions waiting for them, ones that have no right to go away. It wasn't long ago that I was invited to a table with friends. At this table sat people from very different backgrounds and cultures. We spanned 3 decades, and while our worldviews were similar, we thought very differently about the implications of our views. And because of our diversity, some of our questions were left unanswered. That was not always easy. But because our identities were further shaped by both the unanswered and the answered questions, the experience at that table enriched and I think even changed our lives. But what struck me most was this. Most of our questions could have been categorized into 2 main questions. How will I live today? And as I live today, who will my life impact? How will I live is a question of wholeheartedness, and who will my life impact is a question of influence. The time at that particular table was rich, and from that time has come Wholefluence. So who or what is Wholefluence? We are a collaborative of learners and creators that seek to inspire in each other a desire, willingness, and ability to grow in competencies that help us live wholeheartedly so that we might continue being people of life-giving influence. Competencies in leadership, such as living well with emotional intelligence, Competencies and learning, such as living a mentored life where, with different types of mentors, we create our own unique learning experiences engaged via action steps in a variety of life's dimensions. We at Wholefluence wish to invite you to the table. We invite you to explore with us what it means to be people who are in process and willing to admit that we have things to learn and that we need others to learn them alongside. Sometimes the table will be short video clips that teach a certain concept or skill. Other times it might be online courses with more in-depth content. But most importantly, it will be offline in face-to-face gatherings with a diverse group of people on a shared journey of growth and development. As the collaborative of learners and creators within Wholefluence grows, so too will the opportunities to grow in the competencies that nurture wholeheartedness and life-giving influence. We will always benefit from being together. Come join us.